welcome everybody to another episode of The Peach Pit, the only podcast that covers the previous episodes of the Flophouse Podcast, a podcast that's not just for jerks anymore. I'm your host, Stuart Wellington, and joining me today, I have some really great guests. But before we talk about those guests, I'm going to throw it to one of those guests. Dan McCoy, you have some words for us, right?
This is a very confusing way to set up what is a Max Fun Drive episode. Max Fun Drive, of course, the time of year where listeners like you support the shows that you love, like the Flophouse, what this show really is outside of the fiction of the Peach Pit. Stuart is making a face as if he's dismayed by this.
Dan, stay on course. Stay on
it's
course.
Max
You
Fun
can do
Drive.
this.
It's Max Fun Drive. The one time a year when we come to you to ask for the financial support that allows us to keep making the shows you love and tolerate. The Flophouse can only exist because folks like you support it at $5 a month or more. And right now, I just want to say, personally, as the entertainment industry continues to implode, professional podcaster is the only job I have. So please help keep me off the streets and take away some of the sting from the gales of laughter that writing podcaster as your job inspires in people by going to right now, MaximumFun.org/join and becoming a Max Fun member. We'll talk a little bit more about the drive later, but let's re-enter this Peach Pit subset of the Flophouse now.
Like Dan said, as the Flophouse can't exist without the support of Max Fun supporters, the Peach Pit cannot exist without the support of the Flophouse Podcast, a podcast that I assume you already listen to. Now, joining me today, I have all three hosts of the Flophouse Podcast, and we're going to be talking about a special episode. We're going to be talking about episode 419 of the Flophouse. That's right, the Cat Person episode. And with me are the hosts of that podcast, the stars of that podcast, Dan McCoy, Hallie Haglund, Elliot Kalin. How are you guys doing? Pause for applause, please.
And laughter.
And laughter, yeah, because you guys are doing like little dances or something.
Yeah, and our names are hilarious.
And we're pretending we don't know where to sit. We're picking up the mug and drinking the water. Yeah, and pause is the perfect word for it because we talked about a movie that had cat in the title. And what do cats have? Pause.
Yeah. Elliot's already on fire. I love this. I can't believe I'm in the room with you guys. So, Hallie, this is your first time joining us here on the Peach Pit. Thank you so much. It's a big deal.
It feels like a big deal. I actually had no idea what we were going to talk about today, so I'm learning as we go, folks.
I think all four of us are learning as we go. That's kind of the joy of being a human being is that you take in information and you process it and you learn every day. Now, speaking of learning, Hallie, I learned some new things about you.
If you're not learning, you're not living.
Mm-hmm. Now, having listened to the Cat Person episode,
nothing, except what's on the other side. Yeah, Stuart, what are we doing today?
Oh, no, it's okay. You have some more bits. Elliot Kalin, Lord of Bits, is dropping some fresh hot ones on us. But real quick, Hallie, I learned some new things about you, as did all of the listeners. You speak Portuguese? How did that come about?
Well, I lived abroad for 2 years in Argentina on the border of Paraguay, so in the northernmost part of Argentina, also very close to Brazil. So I became very interested in the Portuguese language. A lot of the people in the town that I lived in were like, Brazil's the best country in the world. Brazilians are the most beautiful people in the world. Brazilians are the most beautiful people in the world. Everyone who lives in Brazil is the happiest in the world. You know, I think it's a little more complicated than that, but it all led me to, I want to learn a little bit more about these people. I want to talk to them. So I studied Portuguese in college, and then I spent some time abroad there. And, you know, it was a very specific interest in the Southern Cone that led me to this acquiring of knowledge. Yeah.
That is fascinating. And speaking of the Southern Hemisphere and travel, I also just got back, as I was not featured on that episode of the podcast, because I just got back from traveling abroad. I was in Australia.
Yeah, I was actually kind of amazed that you knew what happened on the Cat People episode, considering you were not here and you've been in Australia for several weeks and we haven't
Stuart even knows the title better than people who were there for the episode.
Cat Person, yeah, sorry.
Well, just to fill you guys in, I listened to an early cut of the episode and I watched the movie Cat Person on my flight back from Australia. I used up my precious should have been sleeping time watching Cat Person.
I mean, but Cat Person couldn't have taken the entire flight. It's a 2-hour movie, and that must be, what, an 11-hour flight?
It's 15 hours from Sydney to LA, and then another 6 hours back to New York City.
Jeez Louise.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how
you
many
must
times?
have watched that a lot of times.
Just put Cat Person on repeat.
That's the only entertainment. The in-flight movies are down. I threw my books in the garbage because I was like, Cat Person is going to see me through it.
I assume when you arrived in Australia, they found the books in your luggage and they said, "Can't bring these, mate," and they just threw them in the trash because books are not allowed in Australia.
Yeah, no books at all. Yep, only dollary-doos, didgeridoo-doos, and I don't know, koala bears.
I guess if you'd called them bookery-doos, they would have let you keep them. Yeah.
If I had only thought of that, if I declared them as bookery-doos.
They're like, "Do you have anything to declare-a-dee-do?" And you're like, "I have these books. Only bookery-doos allowed." And then again, threw them in the garbage. Yeah, threw them in the pouch pocket of a kangaroo so that he could take it to the ocean and dump them in.
So
you guys know the garbage goes the other way in Australia?
It does. Yeah, it goes back into your mouth. The fun thing is that I did not get enough sleep. I'm still super jet lagged. The day I arrived, I ended up sleeping 13 hours, which just did not reset my sleep schedule. And then I had a double session with my therapist. So I'm a mess, guys. I'm already emotional. I'm a Pisces. You guys know this. So yeah. I'm a wreck right now. So let's see how this episode goes. So, Hallie.
I've never heard of a double session with a therapist.
Yeah, I want to dig into this, but
So
I don't know.
You can tell how emotional I am.
You get twice as much closure, right?
Well, it's like, it feels like the first session was just me explaining how my trip went. And then the second half of the session, which was another full session, was just every emotional scab, old and new, was picked fresh and left me kind of in a state where between that and my odd sleep schedule left me feeling sad and high in a way that I was not prepared for.
Aw, Stuart.
Wow.
It's okay.
I mean,
wow, sorry to hear it.
It does kind of make sense though, because I do feel like every therapy session ends just as you're getting to the deep stuff, you know? It's like, okay, well, time to go. I'm like, but put me back together again, please.
Yeah. Now, while I was in Australia, I did a couple of cold plunge therapy experiences. And so it was kind of like that. Like after the first session, I was like, okay, get me out of this. This hurts. My muscles are cramping and I can't breathe. Unfortunately, I had a whole nother session to go and here we are. So
it's still better than a cold play therapy plunge, which is no fun.
No, nobody enjoys that. Not
Nobody
even the members of Coldplay.
No. Yeah.
Hallie.
Yeah.
You've talked about living in other places. You live in Los Angeles now, but you used to live over here on the East Coast. What do you miss most about living on the East Coast?
Dan.
Oh, how sweet.
I was making eyes at Hallie, hoping that was.
If you ask Elliot just says, pizza, and then he walks away.
That's what I say, yep.
And my Ninja Turtle friends.
Well, the potential to have pizza with a Ninja Turtle, because they do have pizza here, but you're never going to be able to eat it with a Ninja Turtle unless they've come out for a meeting, possibly.
Yeah, you're at Universal Studios. Okay.
I miss a lot. I feel like I have come to romanticize New York a lot more than I actually liked it while I was there. I feel like people are so smart there. They dress so cool. You never have to drive anywhere. You just hop on the subway. I got so many more steps. I was so much hotter. I had no children. That's the New York specific.
Sure.
Yeah, very New York specific.
Yeah.
I mean, Elliot seems to have thrown New York in the garbage by comparison.
To be honest, that's a New York thing to do. There's garbage cans everywhere. But I don't think it's not that I've thrown New York in the garbage, it's that I have tried to romanticize it, and I've had trouble romanticizing it because as much as I love New York, and it's the greatest city in the world, and it's very special to me, I do remember a lot of the frustrations of when Hallie's like, you don't have to drive because you can ride the subway. I have so many memories of sitting in a stopped subway car in the middle of a tunnel, not knowing if I would die there, if it would ever move again. Whereas if I'm in a car, I can always potentially just get out of my car and abandon it on the road if the traffic is bad enough. And,
Elliot, if you were stuck in that subway car, you could just eat your copy of The Power Broker and live for, I don't know, like a couple of days?
It would last me a little while. That's true, but then it would be like destroying a child. It would be such a hard sacrifice to make.
But then it lives on inside you, the book.
Yeah, but I was just in New Jersey for a few days recently, and got to drive through New York for a family event that was not a pleasant family event, but I did enjoy. I enjoyed seeing those gray skies and gray buildings and gray pavement all over again. It was. I did feel the power and intensity of New York. Yeah, I missed that. Yeah.
Yeah, the intensity.
And I miss when I was in New York and I used to work for a television show and I had a regular paycheck every week.
That was nice.
That was pretty great. Yeah.
I live in New York and I miss that as well.
So it's not a New York specific thing,
guys. And I'm kind of the same way, it's only been a couple of days, but already I'm missing Australia. I'm missing all the fun accents. I'm missing all the little critters you can see running around. I might even get one of those mullet haircuts that all those kids over there have that have the sides extra shaved, which I guess allows their sunglasses to stay on better. I don't know. Maybe grow a little mustache. I mean, I think it's cool for Australians that mullets and mustaches are hip again. What?
I mean, Stuart, I understand the desire to ruin something beautiful, but don't do either of those things.
And Stuart, I think you should take solace in the fact that you're not hearing Australian accents. We are hearing the greatest accent in the world. That's the heavy New York accent. Hey, what you doing? Get out of my face. Hey, forget about it. That kind of stuff.
What's the matter with you?
Joey.
I'm walking here.
Joey, tell Richie what you told me. Joey. Louie, listen to this.
Bagel.
Tony, do you hear what Joey said to Richie?
Guys, these mating calls.
Now, pizza, Derek Jeter, Jane Jacobs, New York, yeah.
The next question is for Hallie Haglund again.
Stanford White, yeah.
Stanny White, I love him.
Hey, Stanny White, hey, tell me that thing you said about the other guy. Anyway,
next question is for Hallie again. How do you take your martinis?
I take them
gin or vodka?
Gin, always.
Okay, good.
Sapphire, gin.
Mm-hmm. Because you love colonialism.
Sometimes Plymouth.
Also colonialism.
Oh, naval rum or naval gin. Yeah, I like it.
Naval rum is rum that you squeeze out of a person's belly button, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I saw that in a movie once.
I like them very dry.
Or by David Cronenberg.
Oh, okay.
I was
like how dry? Do you just like to show the glass of the bottle, or do you actually pour some?
Yeah,
in
no
there?
liquid.
Do you do a wash?
No, I don't do a wash.
Okay.
But for a long time, I was, historically, I've always gone olives. I don't really like it dirty. If it's going to be dirty, just like the tiniest bit dirty. But I'm not a big super dirty.
You sound like Elliot right now.
Not a super dirty gal.
Just like a little dirty. Yeah, exactly. Just so that I know I'm doing something wrong, but not so bad that I feel bad about it.
No, I
later.
want it to be my martini to be fucked up. Call the cops.
I want to spend the next day wandering with my head in my hands going, what did I drink last night? How could I have done that?
Stuart just tips a shot into some brine.
I mean, that sounds great. That sounds great, Dan.
I had a cigarette martini at a fancy cocktail bar here in the city, and I think they smoked the olives or some shit because it was kind of smoky, but not. It was great.
Was it good? Did you?
It was delicious. It was great. It was probably $28 or something. But it was good.
I've started taking them with a twist recently.
Oh,
I've grown tired of so many olives. I feel like it gets too salty by the end, even when it's no olive juice, just the olives. So I've started doing with a twist. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, no, thanks for answering. That's what the Peach Pit's all about, is finding out more about these floppers. Speaking about finding out floppers, we learned a little bit about a little dream Elliot had of a Seinfeld spec script, and the world is on fire wanting more. So now that I have 3 bona fide TV writers with me, can you guys answer, have you... is there any off the air television show that you would like to write a script for?
Any show that's not on the air now, or you kind of confused me. Okay, yeah, a show
not
that is
on the air now
is over.
Yes. Part of the Peach Pit is trying to figure out exactly what I'm trying to say.
It's like reading a Gene Wolfe novel. The Peach Pit. Yeah, I keep looking up words on my phone in the dictionary.
And if we figure it out, of course, we go to the Peach Pit website and plug in all the clues that we've gathered from the episode.
You got to wear the special glasses.
Yeah, and then you win a prize. That prize being the knowledge that there is no prize.
You know, it was like I wrote The Simpsons is still on the air, but I wrote a Simpsons spec about 10 years later than anyone would care about a Simpsons spec, and that was like 15 years ago now. But like,
give us a taste.
Let's pretend.
Yeah, what was it about? What happened in it? Was that the one where Bart killed Homer by accident and he had to hide the body? Well, Homer would have been dead, so he wouldn't have said dough, but you know.
That's what he says in that.
I think it was.
I didn't do it.
That's what I'd say, yeah.
I think it was called Jesus Christ Superstation, and it was about how Homer took over like the local public airwaves that like Ned had like religious programming on there, but Homer took it over and had his version of religious programming that was much more popular.
That's a good plot.
Yeah.
That's a good premise. Simpsons.
That's great.
Producers, snap this up or steal it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Elliot, Hallie, have you guys got any? You can't do Night Court. Night Court's already back and not as good as it used to be.
Yeah. Well, that Seinfeld, I would love to. I think I might write that spec script if I can find the time just for the exercise of it. But love to write a news radio. I love that show.
Oh yeah.
It's the Night Court of my generation. News radio.
Yeah. I would do Golden Girls. I'd love to do Golden Girls. I'd do Herman's Head. Now that was a fun one.
That'd be fun.
That would be fun. Yeah. Or Babes.
Hallie's always been interested in the show Babes.
Yeah.
What's the show Babes?
You don't remember Babes?
No.
You don't remember the show that ran for one season on Fox in the early 90s?
No.
It's about a bunch of pigs in Australia.
No. It was about three beautiful big sisters who
three Rubenesque sisters.
Yes,
I'm listening.
I remember the earliest promos were them chasing Bart Simpson. It was implied they were going to eat him, right?
No, but at the very end of the credits, they said,
is he a Butterfinger inside?
Wait, what happened?
No, sorry. Go on.
They're all lying on a fold-out couch, and it goes babes, and then the couch breaks, and they all go ah ha 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 ha. But I liked it. I don't know. I liked it.
Wipeout.
Okay, so I mean, I haven't seen any episodes of Babes, but what kind of a script would you write for Babes?
Oh, geez. You're really putting me on the spot here.
Yeah, that's what we do. We ask the hard-hitting questions.
This is a pitch meeting.
You know, one of them is going through menopause, and
okay. Yeah, that sounds perfect for the Fox.
And they don't know which one. They have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Then just ... shenanigans. That's the log line.
That's the title of the episode. Menopause ? Shenanigans.
You used to be able to sell a sitcom with a pitch like that.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Because TV is closed for business.
Let me tell you a little bit more about Max Fun Drive. This is dropping just before Max Fun Drive technically starts, but you know what? Doesn't matter. One day before, it's Max Fun Drive. That's what I say. What is it? It's the one time of year we all come together to invite you to support this show as a member or by boosting or upgrading your membership. What's a Max Fun membership? It pays for shows directly. You pledge support, and you get to pick the shows that you listen to, and those shows then get your money. A little off the top goes to the network. That helps us keep things running. A network, by the way, that is now at this time worker-owned. It is a worker-owned cooperative, meaning that your money goes to us, the creators, and it goes to Max Fun worker owners and not to some CEO who commissions entertainment, then deletes it as a tax write-off.
It's not going to some shadowy overseer named checks notes, Jesse Thorne.
Not anymore. If you are one of the people who inexplicably was mad about that, it's not going there. It's going only to worker owners. Hey, why is member support key? I'm sure you have had something that you love, whether it be a TV show or a podcast, canceled in the past year because the corporate overlords didn't think it made enough money. And we don't have those people. You're our bosses. You decide whether we get to keep going. But that means that if you want us to keep going, we can only do it with your help. Being independent means we can keep doing the stupid shit we think is funny because we're betting that you think it is funny too. There are no gatekeepers. We make the show we want to make. And if you like it, we are betting on you to support it. So will you please join us as a member? Here's the ways you can do it. You can join, upgrade, or boost your membership. If you've never been a member, go to MaximumFun.org/join. There's all sorts of levels of support. All memberships at the $5 a month or more level get access to the entire library of bonus content for all Max Fun shows. I'll talk more about our bonus content later. But in addition to all our stuff from previous years, one thing that's going to be in there is our Spawn live show that we did in LA. So if you want to hear about Spawn from 1997, one of the wildest, most misbegotten, bad CGI superhero movies ever. You can only do that with the bonus content. You can upgrade. If you're already a member, you can upgrade and receive some cool thank you gifts. This year, Max Fun has returned to enamel pins for the $10 a month tier. And for ours, let me say, if you ever wanted a pen of Werner Herzog saying, "I'm a bad little boy," this is your chance.
This is the only way you're going to get it.
Yeah. You can boost if you're already a member, but you want to help a little extra, but you can't, fully upgrade to the next tier. There's an option to boost by a couple dollars a show. And dollars or so, not dollars a show. I sort of slurred those words. I want to make it very clear, very clear.
Mm-hmm.
There are also different ways to pay, depending on what is right for you. You can join monthly at $5 a month or more, as mentioned, or if you'd rather get it all done at once, you can opt to pay upfront for a year of support. And when your year is up, it'll revert to monthly unless you choose to pay upfront for another year. So please go to MaximumFun.org/join and help make this show happen.
Now, let's get into Cat Person, the movie, but also let's talk a little bit about Cat Person, the book, because unlike the three of you, I did not read the short story. Now, granted, I had plenty of time to read it while I was on my flight. Instead, I read two romance novels and the first Black Company novel. Those were all great. So I had plenty of time to read this, but I did not. So you guys are going to have to answer a couple of questions for me.
Sure.
First of all, is Isabella Rossellini in the short story?
That's a big no, unfortunately.
Like either her or her character. You guys didn't ask that? Yeah, you didn't.
Neither one. I mean, I was going to say, if you take the first 2/3 of the movie and then remove all the bullshit from it, that's basically the short story. But we'll answer more questions.
Okay, so I have a question about Isabella Rossellini now. So
Please.
Her character, if you'll recall, was the college professor who is for entomology or sociology or anthropology or something.
She's professor of spooky stuff.
She seems to be she's a biologist specializing in the macabre.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Now she has an obsession with this ant colony she's been cultivating. Now, do you think at any point they were considering also making her Margot, the lead character's aunt? If she's also obsessed with ants?
Now, for what thematic reason would this
I'm guessing
be happening?
No.
Or?
I'm guessing they never considered that.
Just, so they wouldn't they have to pay per word in the script, but homonyms don't count.
Oh, that's a good deal.
They get sued
That's
by
what I
the
was
word
looking for.
supplier. It's these are two different words. They sound the same.
Check your
It has to go to
contract.
word court. Yeah.
Okay, so that was a satisfying answer to my question. Now, you were saying all the bullshit's been taken out. Now, in the short story, is there a dog character?
No dog.
No.
What about the cat? Do the cats ever show up in the short story?
The point is you don't see the cats.
Yeah, I think she does wonder, right? In the short story about but in the short story, I think she's also where the fuck are the cats at some point?
But there's no scene where she opens up a door and two cats run out.
No.
Everything at the end where she has decided to invade his home to stalk, to surveil him, and everything they fight. That's all original to the film.
Okay, so
to the film.
So wait, does that mean? So that makes the final act that's a little bit of fan fiction element there, where they're everybody, when they read the original story, was dying to know about these cats.
What happened next?
Yeah, let's give them the cats.
What about the cats? And what if we could get a dog in there? I mean, the implication that he has been following her to set up this first meeting, I believe is not. I think that's all new to the movie too.
Yeah.
Short story. Everything is above board in terms of they meet at a movie theater. He is not a kind of he's not a haunted figure who with his black hound stalks the streets looking for women to meet cute with.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, and Harrison Ford. Is Harrison Ford mentioned in the short story at all?
No, I think that's all original to the movie too, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's a sequence where Margot imagines that Robert, played by Nicholas Braun, is seeing a therapist. Do you think at any point in the process, in her imagination, the therapist would be played by Harrison Ford?
Like as his shrinking character specifically? Or
I mean, that would be great. He's already he's already got the costume.
I have to imagine that when that character of Robert saw Shrinking, he was disappointed in Harrison Ford for playing a character who's not super cool. Although he's still a little cool because he doesn't care about anybody or anything.
I assume the script went out to Harrison and he's like, this won't pay for my weed.
Callista, should I do this? Callista, should I do this movie? That's his longtime romantic partner, Callista Flockhart. Should I do this? Should I? Anyway, no, I'm not going to. And they went back to bed, probably, yeah.
Okay, well, that's a satisfactory answer. Now,
every time you say that, it sounds less and less like it's a satisfactory answer.
Yeah, that's true. I believe I've told my Harrison Ford story before on this podcast, right?
I don't remember. I would love to hear anything.
When I worked at Barnes & Noble many years ago as a young lad, this was in the year. This was all the way back in the year 2002, 22 years ago. Ooh, when I worked at the Barnes & Noble Chelsea in Manhattan. Don't look for it. It's not there anymore. It closed down. I don't know what that space is these days. But when one day Harrison Ford came in to, I guess, check out the place to see if it was cool enough or chill enough for him and Callista Flockhart to do their holiday shopping in, if they weren't going to get mobbed by all their fans, it passed muster or passed mustard if it was a squeeze tube. Yep. And he and Callista Flockhart came in, and I worked at the information desk at the time. It was my job to go get books from different parts of the store. And I felt bad because I by coincidence, always had to go through whatever section they were in at that moment to get to where I was going. It was not me being a gawker stalker at all. And I overheard the following conversation when they were in the poetry section.
Which would have been appropriate if you were being a gawker stalker to the movie we're talking about, Cat Person.
That's very true, yeah, but I wasn't. And this is the conversation I heard while they were in the poetry section of the Barnes Noble. I heard Callista Flockhart say, "You don't read poetry." And Harrison Ford said, sure I do. I read poetry. And I thought to myself, even Han Solo has the same conversation with his girlfriend that all guys have with their girlfriends.
That's great. Now, there is a...
Dan, or Indiana Jones, whatever character you want me to refer, or Henry.
I was dubious about the essentialism of this conversation that you claim is universal. That was the part that I was
Every single man has had it with every single female romantic partner since the beginning of time. Adam had it with Eve, Akhenaten with Nefertiti, all of them. Why do you think
as mentioned on the podcast, fictional characters?
I think Audrey is less interested in poetry than I am.
Oh, well. Then I guess I know who wears the pants in that family. Both of you.
Oh, sure.
I mean, for poetry, would it be like pantaloons?
A lot of the time. I mean,
yeah.
Because otherwise,
who does the pants in those families? Like, that's pants. Panting
like a dog.
Panting.
Is that in a dog sound?
Probably the cats.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. Yeah.
How ironic that the cats are making the dog sounds.
Yeah. It's a topsy-turvy world we live in.
So we're talking about Harrison Ford here. Now, Nicholas Braun's character uses Harrison Ford in many of his movies as a role model for how he should behave romantically. Can you guys answer what Harrison Ford character would be a good role model for a man to follow? Not necessarily just romantically. We could talk about in life in general.
I mean, it seems like in The Fugitive, before his wife passes away, they had a good relationship. He's so devoted to her and to clearing his name, but to her.
I mean, he's persistent. He's very persistent. He doesn't give up.
Tracks down the killer. And in the middle of all of that, he still has the time to save a young boy at the hospital who's been diagnosed incorrectly. So,
and he's also immune to jumping off of really high heights into water. That doesn't hurt him.
That's his superpower. That's his one superpower that nobody knew about until he was put in that situation.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a pretty good one. You guys got anything? You got any?
And he's a doctor.
But but regarding Henry, like once he relearns how to be a human, once he forgets that he was like a terrible person and becomes a good person.
That's a good one.
I wouldn't kick that guy out of my life.
No, that's true. I mean, you got to put in a lot of effort up top, sort of like rebuilding Henry. But yeah.
Rebuilding Henry was the prequel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Regarding rebuilding.
I guess Rick Deckard, he really is able to process the fact that he's a robot pretty well, and that's a big blow to the psyche. It's hard to get over that, and yet he's able to do it. And I admire him for that, I guess. Also, he wears a trench coat real well.
He looks super cool.
Super cool. I mean, he's a tool of oppression. That's not great.
That's not cool.
Well, what about like Working Girl? Well, no, he changes clothes in front of his staff. That's not cool. Let's see. What about does he ever play a character who is nice to people? I mean, Henry.
What about
after
when
the
he
accident.
saved? This isn't a movie, but remember, didn't he like save someone when he was a pilot?
Yeah, he did do that.
In real life, that's true.
Okay, so
Ford.
Harrison.
The real Harrison.
Yeah, I mean the real guy seems like he's sort of grumpy, but like, he's also
funny.
kind of like a funny stone
I
guy.
bet he's pretty friendly if you're not bothering him.
I have, so wait, quick story. It didn't happen to me. It happened to my very good friend. But my friend was working a temp job on the Upper West Side. So he was, he didn't usually get off at the subway stop, but then he was regularly getting off it for a week. And every day for the first 3 days he was working this temp job, he passed Harrison Ford when he was getting out of the subway. And on the fourth day, Harrison Ford looked at him and said, "Birds of a feather," and just kept walking. That seems like a pretty cool guy, right?
That's pretty cool. I like that.
Perfect sort of like semi-enigmatic just as you pass.
It also could double as a like, I know you're following me. Please stop. Which I don't know if he meant it that way.
That's not the vibe I got. Shout out to Rob Cuthill if he's listening somewhere. That's his story.
That is a good story. I think that is cool. And he was president once, but we don't know about his policies. It's possible It's possible that even though he's very good at getting guys off his plane, that maybe he also does some bad stuff policy-wise.
It's mostly throwing terrorists off planes.
He's like, "Get off my plane," and the audience goes, "Yeah," and he goes, "And we've got to outlaw gay marriage at the national level," and they're like, "Oh, what? Hold on, that's not okay."
Okay.
We need to cut entitlement spending and welfare spending for our military buildup. No, President Ford, don't do that.
So,
second President Ford.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, in the movie, he's not President Ford. Yeah.
He isn't? Is he President Richard Kimball?
Yeah.
Yeah, his story of being unjustly accused of his wife's murder really captured the nation's attention. And
I think he
him
could
to the White
run.
House.
I think he has a platform.
He can run really well. Have you seen The Fugitive? That whole movie is him running.
Running through the streets of Chicago.
Yeah. Those are not easy streets to run through. You hit a river at one point.
One of the highlights.
Actually, I ran the Chicago Marathon, and that's one of the easiest marathons to run. Very flat.
Oh, I see.
Very flat.
That makes a lot of sense.
But what if you're being chased by Tommy Lee Jones? I guess that makes it easier to run, to be honest.
Way easier.
Yeah,
motivation.
Yeah.
Really motivating you. Yeah.
Also, doesn't he have one leg? Isn't he the one?
Tommy Lee Jones?
Wait, in Lonesome Dove, was he the one who got his leg amputated, or was it
Elliot would be the one to know this.
I don't remember. It's been so long since I saw Lonesome
Dove. Let me text Larry McMurtry.
I've got some bad news for you, Stuart.
He's not responding.
It truly was
I got
the
3
last
dots.
picture show. It's only 3 dots.
Okay, so one of the highlights of the Cat Person episode for me was the moment when all 3 of you managed to call out movies that happened to be released in 1994. I was very impressed by that. So, on the subject of 1994, I wanted to know if you could guess what the top domestic box office movie of 1994 was. Since you're all experts at 1994.
Was that the year of The Lion King? Just was The Lion
Dan
King?
got number 1. Okay, you guys, you guys have a chance to get anything in the top 5. Number 1 is Lion King.
Forrest Gump, right?
Number 2, baby.
Wow.
It's
the pressure's really on.
There was a time when Forrest Gump was the number 2. A movie like Forrest Gump was the number 2 movie in the country.
Yeah.
Like That would be, regardless of the quality or not quality of Forrest Gump, and there are things I like about it, things I don't like about it. A movie about a guy who just happens to live through events in the 60s and 70s. And people are like, we love this movie. And now that would be, I guess it would be like a prestige TV series that goes on for 10 seasons or something like that.
Yeah, everybody would love it.
You got anything, Hal?
In the movies?
So was Armageddon later? Was Armageddon yeah.
And Independence Day was later, right? Was that 95? Listen, a couple of Griffin Newmans over here. But
okay.
not
we did pretty good, I think.
You guys did pretty good. You got the top two. The rest of the top five is True Lies, The Santa Claus, and The Flintstones.
Wow.
Oh, I wouldn't have gotten it.
I didn't realize The Flintstones was number 5. That was it. They did
the live action one?
The live action.
Johnny Goods.
And our boy, Harry Ford brings up number 6, Clear and Present Danger.
Danger.
Okay.
Clear and present. Say it all together with me, folks. Danger.
Dan's favorite movie of 1994, Speed, came in at number 7. Not bad.
Thank you, I guess.
Okay. So that was top box office. Can you guys name some of the... It was also a big year for the Oscars. Have you guys ever heard of the Oscars? We're kind of in award season here at the Flophouse. So...
okay, we are?
Can you guess some of the, let's say, Best Actor winner?
Now, wait,
Tom Hanks, wasn't it? He won.
Yeah, I was going to ask whether this is for films that came out then in 94, or you're talking about the previous year.
No, these
93.
are from the previous year. I tricked you.
Oh.
But Tom Hanks did win. What did Tom Hanks win for?
That was
for
Philadelphia, right?
Philadelphia.
That was when Tom Hanks won back-to-back Best Actor Oscars, right? For Philadelphia and Forrest Gump. But did Schindler's List win for Best Picture that year?
No, Schindler's List, won for actual 1994. Yep.
No.
The Best Picture winner for the year previous, which is what we're talking about, is... nope, it was Schindler's List. You're right.
Because it came out in 90. Because 93 was the year that Steven Spielberg had both Jurassic Park and Schindler's List, which is amazing. Yeah. That's an amazing 2 movies to have come out in the same year because they're so similar.
Times have changed when you could just write a list and win an Oscar. Must be nice. Now we got to write whole scripts. Get them shots.
The dialogue in them, yeah.
Guys, and based on what we've been talking about, I would argue the majority of this Cat Person podcast. Can you guess who was the winner of Actor in a Supporting Role?
So this
it was
has
in
something to do
1994 for movies from 1990.
Denzel Washington?
No. What have we been talking about most of this podcast?
Harrison Ford.
Who was
Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones.
For The Fugitive. Okay. That's right. We got there. We got there eventually.
We did.
It was TLJ. Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah. I did guess Babes before we got there.
Back for another game.
You know it.
What's going on?
Just one more week till Max Fun Drive.
Hard to believe. It's been a heck of a year since the last one. We're now a worker-owned co-op. We raised $50,000 for charity last year.
And we've added a bunch of awesome new shows. But do you think we're ready to do it again?
Absolutely. Lovely new gifts are lined up. The episodes will be amazing. And wait till everyone hears the bonus content.
Yeah, plus they know to go to MaximumFun.org/newsletter, so they're getting all the news. Oh, like that meetup day is on Thursday, March 21st.
Then what's bothering you?
Me? Oh, nothing. We're all set for Max Fun Drive to start on Monday, March 18th. I just didn't want you to see this coming. Check.
What? Hang on.
Most of the plants humans eat are technically grass.
Most of the asphalt we drive on is almost a liquid.
The formula of WD-40 is San Diego's greatest secret.
Zippers were invented by a Swedish immigrant love story.
On the podcast Secretly Incredibly Fascinating, we explore this type of amazing stuff.
Stuff about ordinary topics like cabbage and batteries and socks.
Topics you'd never expect to be the title of the podcast. Secretly Incredibly Fascinating.
Find us by searching for the word secretly in your podcast app.
And at MaximumFun.org.
Before we move on, I'm breaking in yet again to say a little bit about Max Fun Drive. I'm going to focus on the bonus content.
Ooh.
Max Fun has a library full of bonus content you can enjoy from all your favorite Max Fun shows, and it's gotten really big over the years. You can get access to the entire library of bonus content for every single Max Fun show when you join at just $5 a month or more. If you're thinking strictly about value, hey, that's a great value. You might be supporting some creators on platforms like Patreon. That's great. We have chosen to partner with Max Fun because being in this community helps us share the fundraising. We can ask you for money less frequently, put more energy into making a show that you love. But sometimes I might see complaints that, if this or that show is on Patreon, you get more bonus content. I understand where that mindset comes from. Capitalism has poisoned our brains into thinking that everything is transactional. But look, we take stuff that might normally be paywalled. We give it away for free upfront in the hopes that you'll kick us a tip to support us. And then the bonus content we do give is a little extra thank you that we hope you appreciate, and we hope you appreciate this model as well. We're excited for this year's bonus content. As mentioned on day one, there's access to all of the bonus episodes we've made for previous years, including, for instance, some RPG shows where we played cartoon dogs. Stuart ran us through a little adventure.
Yeah, it was a little adventure.
It was an awfully big adventure.
We've got a big adventure on there, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Plus, you'll get this year's our first bonus show for this year is our live show from Los Angeles, where we talked about 1997's Spawn.
The movie that kicked off the superhero craze.
The movie, dare say it, responsible for all superhero movies afterwards.
Prove us wrong.
But that's not all. We're going to do later in the year, we're going to drop these when we can, a mini-series on a schlock director, a sort of a check, if you will, where we're going to talk about some of the films of Graydon Clark.
That works better written than it does said out loud.
Check.
No, I don't like it.
We previously touched on this director in the main feed in our first Gillian Flynn episode, where we discussed the mutant cat movie Uninvited. But we're going to do a deeper dive. We'll discuss the 80s sex comedy Joysticks, the 90s sexy dance movie The Forbidden Dance, and the later in the 90s sci-fi movie Star Games, featuring inexplicably Tony Curtis. And on top of that,
highlights from the filmography of Graydon Clark.
Yes. On top of that, just wanted to mention in passing, we have teamed with Stage Pilot yet again to do some upcoming video streams of some of our live shows. We taped 2 shows at Vidiot's, one of which had Hallie in it, who's on obviously this episode. These are beautifully produced, multi-camera tapings. They've got professional lighting and editing. I've seen the first one. It's really gorgeous. I really love the way these shows look. It makes me feel like a big shot.
It's almost as good as being in the room.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
And we've set it up so Max Fun members get a 33% ticket discount on all our upcoming Stage Pilot shows as an extra member thank you. So that's just one more benefit of being a member. Will you please join us as a member? Think of how many shitty streaming services you likely subscribe to unthinkingly. They pile up, and they're all getting worse and worse over the years. Then think about the consistent place our show and other Max Fun shows have had in your life, giving you laughs and company, and how little we ask in comparison. We can only keep doing our show with your help. So if you can, please pledge your support at MaximumFun.org/join.
So that was a little blast from the past with us focusing on 1994, the year that is on everybody's lips.
Hollywood's greatest year.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Now there's
1994.
I was 12, still a preteen.
I don't like that.
What's that?
What?
What's that implying?
I don't like the
Well, let's
implication.
just say the cat person might be interested. Back to the story.
I will say this in defense of the cat person that he is interested in a 20-year-old woman. She is of legal age, and there's never an implication that he's a pedophile.
Not
20-year-old woman
drinking age.
That's fair. Good point.
A 20-year-old
Nor
woman
is a
that he
12-year-old.
believes is slightly older, at least.
Yes.
Right.
He certainly likes that she exudes youth but not not
Yeah,
childish,
guess who
not
else
childhood.
exudes youth? A 12-year-old.
I don't
Oh.
know.
Don't
I
like
was
it.
just saying
Don't
you,
I don't like this
Hallie.
answer.
No, don't like it.
I like
Well,
the
at
question
12, I
even
also
less.
did.
There's a point of contention, specifically one of Elliot's contentions with this movie. cat person, that it featured too many needle drops. And what I would like to be like your take on is, what's the difference between a needle drop and just a song?
That was my question. I asked before we started recording, I think. I still don't understand.
I don't. Well, I was going to say I don't think that there necessarily is one. I think that they're used often just interchangeably. But maybe I would say if I was pressed that like a song is
pressed?
like
A member?
if sometimes there's just like a song sort of on the soundtrack that like the film doesn't make a big deal out of. It's just like whether diegetic or not diegetic, it's just there. Whereas a needle drop maybe underlines a moment more, like to bring up one that I know bothered some people. Didn't bother me particularly, but I get what it is.
Don't Bother Me, the song from the end of Nashville.
Yes. No, like in Captain Marvel when Just a Girl plays during the big fight at the end. Like that's like very much like a needle drop, I would say.
Yeah, I would say for me,
people had problems with Captain Marvel.
Yeah, I'm sure all for rational, good reasons that have no underpinnings of anything else.
Yeah. I think needle drop not being necessarily a technical or scientific term is kind of messy. But I think for me, it's when a pop song is used as punctuation, either to like be like something's happening, or to like Les Dan saying kind of underline and make really obvious a thing. Often, I mean, the needle droppiest movie is Suicide Squad, the first one, where often the songs are not even related to what's going on screen. It's literally just new shot, new pop song, new shot, new pop song. And so there are a couple scenes in Cat Person where it just felt like the music, it was like as soon as it cut to a new scene, a new pop song started. And then as soon as that scene was over, that song stopped and another one started. It felt very artificial to me.
So, for instance, the use of Gimme More by Britney Spears would be a needle drop. But what about the scene that follows shortly after in the firearms store, the self-defense store, where in the background you hear the song Damn, I Wish I Was Your Lover playing? Is that a needle drop?
I don't remember the scene well enough, to be honest.
So I think the answer means no. The answer means no.
The answer means no.
Is it playing in the background in the store, or is it playing on the soundtrack?
It's playing in the background in the store.
If it's in the store, so this is, I'm also going to make a distinction from needle drop. If it is diegetic music, if it's music that is organic to the scene, coming from a source in the scene, I don't think of it as a needle drop. Okay. Like when he puts on his makeout mix or his sex mix, when she goes to his house, that doesn't feel like a needle drop to me. But when it is non-diegetic, if it's not within the scene, it feels like a needle drop to me.
Sex mix is the worst kind of Chex Mix.
So you think,
it's just so messy. You got to wear gloves for it.
I mean, to be fair, I've never been a fan of Chex Mix because it's like, here's 2 things you like and 3 things you don't. Find the stuff you like in it. But if there is some sex hidden in there, maybe it's worth the hunt. I don't know.
Interesting.
I love Chex Mix, just for the record.
What is it about Chex Mix that you like?
It's so salty.
But you were saying you don't like that much salt in your drink.
I know, because I'm drinking. But when I'm eating.
Allie's
that's
complex.
She is.
Yeah. She has layers.
Yeah.
Keeps you
like
guessing.
An onion, like a salty onion.
So real quick,
that sounds good.
Since we're talking about music and movies, favorite soundtracks or soundtrack CDs that you've owned? Or now, favorite score?
That's the thing. I have owned more score CDs than soundtrack CDs. But like,
it's Elliot.
Yeah, this is me we're talking to. But like, I've owned a number of Ennio Morricone's scores, and I really like the one for The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I love. I'm a big fan of Jerry Goldsmith's score for The Planet of the Apes. And I had those. But I never had a lot of the ones where it was like...
I'm a huge fan of the score for Chopping Mall. We've all talked about this. We all love scores.
I'm tired of hearing you talk about the score for Chopping Mall.
I was a big fan of the score for Untamed Heart, the Marissa Tomei movie where Christian Bale gets a baboon heart.
Yeah. I know the plot line of Untamed Heart.
Okay.
Is Christian Bale?
No, it's
Christian Slater.
Okay, that's what I was like.
Christian Bale plays the heart.
Yeah, that sounds like too high class a Christian for this movie.
No.
I liked the first one that came to mind is the High Fidelity soundtrack. I mean, I'm also like a child of the 90s, so I had, like Pulp Fiction and Train Spotting and stuff like
The
that.
Crow, Judgment Night.
Sure.
Tower Records.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good one.
Now that I'm a middle-aged man who
Tank Girl.
acquired a turntable a few years back.
Speed?
American Werewolf in Paris.
I'm going to, as a middle-aged man, I'm going to bring up a movie that is all but forgotten. But there's a movie called FM that is just like a double album of like album-oriented rock from the 70s that I'm like, I wouldn't want these individual records, but as a soundtrack, I love it.
Speaking of soundtracks, speaking of Forrest Gump, talk about an epic
that was a big sound. There was a double album soundtrack that was in rotation a lot at my house growing up.
Popular.
All the classic rock that my parents loved to tell me was better than the music that came before or after it.
Exactly. It was the American Graffiti or Big Chill soundtrack of its day.
Yeah.
And Elliot hears this and storms off in a huff wearing his Jenko jeans with his chain wallet dragging on the floor as he goes off to listen to his Slipknot.
Yeah, I think the audience understands pretty clearly that I'm a huge nu metal and Slipknot fan. Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
You're a freak on a leash, and we love that about you. So speaking of freaks on leashes, there's a moment.
My favorite thing that I will say, I do like Slipknot for giving us the inspiration for the Conan O'Brien bit, the Slipnuts, when it's just I forgot who it was, John Glazer and the two other guys, and there's peanut shells all over the ground, and they're just slipping on them, and they sing a song about how they're the Slipnuts.
Yeah.
So there's a scene in Cat Person where Margot has a little bit of a date in her college classroom where Robert brings her some Fruity Pebbles, a specific type of Fruity Pebbles, and other snacks from 7-Eleven, which, by the way, when I was in Australia, I heard a radio commercial for 7-Eleven, which pitched it as, like, sick of having leftovers for lunch? You can just go to 7-Eleven. And I'm like, is this pitched to, like, 12-year-olds only?
Eat what? Jerky?
You can get food at 7-Eleven. You can get hot dogs.
Yeah.
You can get hot dogs with pretzel rolls on them.
I know, but that,
you can get chicken wings.
One of those sandwiches
nachos,
that's on that like heater tray that you're like, I don't know, what is this?
I guess I'm
what
showing my food
Look,
snobbery
if you've never traveled on Christmas and had to figure out what you're going to eat for dinner from a convenience store, then you're living a better life than I
mean,
have,
I've done it. I'm
just saying
I'm not going to be drawn in by
as a commercial.
Yeah, advertising isn't going to be like, you know what? I am going to have lunch at 7-Eleven. Like, if you're having lunch at 7-Eleven, that is a choice made out of necessity.
Yeah, because it's only leftovers otherwise.
I heard in Japan they have fresh sushi at 7-Elevens, and they have to change it out every hour.
Oh, wow.
Listeners chime in. Let us know. Listeners to the Peach Pit. So if somebody was trying to impress you much, if somebody was trying to send up a green flag in the old Dayton world, what breakfast cereal would they bring to you as a treat that shows that they understand you or just get what you're craving? What breakfast cereal would somebody bring you?
Know that any breakfast cereal would make me feel understood, since it's not particularly a thing
there's one breakfast cereal that I like. It is the most boring one. It is it's called Morning Oat Crunch, and it's basically a replacement for Quaker Oat Squares, which got too sweet for me. And my wife does get it for me frequently. She knows I like to have a breakfast and snack on it. So she does understand me, and I married the right lady. Sorry, ladies.
I like go on, Hallie.
I would say Golden Grams or Chex.
Good one.
Wheat Chex. I think Wheat Chex or Kix. Kid tested, mother approved.
Kix always scratch up the roof of my mouth too much. I have a sensitive upper mouth.
You know, I actually love grape nuts. You can't eat grape nuts solo, but
love grape nuts.
They're so good when they get good and soggy.
And it's kind of gross, but I think that's because
I
enjoy a little like controlled discomfort. You know.
Maybe if my prospective lover got me Captain Crunch, which I haven't had in a long time, but then fed it to me so my hands don't get sticky.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They would get extra points from me.
Okay.
Then they'd have to go wash their hands.
Somebody start drawing Dan feeding Elliot Captain Crunch.
I like corn Chex because they kind of taste like, like a tortilla chip that I like, but without the salt.
What about Crispix? Crispix very
is good.
Crispix are very good, yeah.
You get the corn, you got the rice. I also, if I want a little treat, maybe some honey bunches of oats. I like.
They call it the best of
Bunches
the
of oats in this economy?
You just get one oat.
One oat, no honey. Sorry.
Aw.
Now there's a moment. There's a moment in the movie where they're talking about the movies they've seen the most. Margot and Robert. Robert, of course, has watched Empire Strikes Back a zillion times. Margot's favorite movie, most watched movie, is Spirited Away, and we all kind of agree that Spirited Away feels like a movie that he would have seen.
Yeah. My guess is he should have started telling her facts about Miyazaki as if she didn't know anything about it. You know?
Yeah.
Now
Mansplain. Miyazaki. Miyazaki-splain.
And he has her.
And he's a man
he has
too, so
her
it's like
kind
double
of.
mansplaining.
He has her kind of pitched as somebody who loves foreign films, maybe cerebral films. So what?
Or Cerebro films if the X-Men are in them.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's true. Yep. So what movie should she have said is her most watched movie to kind of fit that bill a little better and also be a movie that he hasn't seen, believably?
So we're rewriting Cat
what
Person.
her favorite movie is. Yeah, we're rewriting Cat Person.
Maybe like an Agnes Varda movie.
That would work.
If she was like, I really love, I probably have seen one sings, the other doesn't more times than the other, and he'd be like, I don't know what that is. Oh, she's like, well, it's a foreign movie. Oh, you like subtitled stuff. Oh, forget about it. I just like stuff with Han Solo shooting people and kissing babes.
She really
Let
loves,
me show you my script.
She really loves Certified Copy. That's
what was that movie like Fucking Olna? Do you guys remember?
I don't remember
Fucking
that.
a Mall?
Is that what it was called? It's like a Swedish movie, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the one that you're thinking of. It's got another American title that is less exciting, but
yeah, that one. Or My Life as a Dog.
My Life as a Dog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that.
I
could see her really liking Amelie, which was a big release, but that I could see that. That would
Show Me Love was the American title.
What was the Swedish title?
I mean, I don't know how to pronounce it.
Do
but
it and try it. Try it best.
It's AMAL with little
Fucking Alma, right?
I probably, if you saw it,
something like that.
Yeah.
Or you know what? Or like Worst Person in the World.
Yes, I love Joachim Trier.
I can see that being one that she relates to,
I watched Reprise on my flight back and cried a bunch.
What a good movie. I gotta watch that again.
If I don't know what that director has with torturing Anders Danielsen lie, but like every fucking movie this dude's in, you're like, I feel bad for him.
Something bad's happened to this guy.
I was gonna say maybe something like In the Mood for Love.
Another
movie I watched on my flight, which is
or Chungking Express. I could see that. Yeah.
Necrophilia.
Or Stu, you mentioned Chopping Mall earlier.
Yeah,
maybe she could have said Shopping Mall. I mean, it was snubbed for best score when it came out.
She, of course, prefers the original title, though, Killbots.
That's true.
Which shows that she's a real
She's like,
cineast.
I love foreign movies. I'm really big on, like, giallo. Like, have you seen the bird with the crystal plumage? And he'd be like, what? What? That kind of stuff, yeah.
Okay. Now.
You like Jello? No? Well, I do, but I meant the movies, the Italian movies, giallo movies. I don't understand. Italian movies? So like Il Postino? No, not that one.
Okay, so that's the first one that springs to his mind is Il Postino.
Yeah. What Italian movie is going to come to his mind other than that? You mean like Life is Beautiful? Like that? No, not that one.
Uh-huh. Yep. No. Keep going. Okay. So as I mentioned,
you mean like Big Night? No, it's not an Italian movie. They are Italian Americans in the film.
Mafia
food.
Mama.
You mean like Mafia Mama?
Super Mario Brothers.
Actually, that's what he would say. Italian movies like Super Mario. Yeah.
So as I mentioned, I was not on the episode Cat Person,
but you've somehow managed to be on it.
I've somehow managed to, and in fact, I will continue this because now I will do my final judgment.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
I'm going to say...
So George Lucas, take this and insert it into the episode, I guess, for the re-release?
Right, with a fucking speeder flying behind me and a couple of robots smoking death sticks.
Yeah, I kind of love this. I'm curious.
A robot that flies over and goes, uh-oh, and then flies away.
So watching this movie, I, on a plane, was a somewhat uncomfortable experience, which I think is kind of what they're trying to go for. I was kind of glad that we weren't doing it just the three of us dudes together talking about it. And I didn't, listening to the episode, I feel like I liked it more, and it was, I got a little more depth from the three of you. I will say that it feels like one of the primary themes of the movie, at least in the first, 2/3, which is what the majority of the short story is, this like the fear of somebody, the fear of a woman in a dating situation when the communication is blurry and there's just like a general kind of threat element. And then it feels weird that the movie then in the final act makes her concerns her concerns and fears are what lead her to getting trapped in a house on fire. Like, it feels like it undercuts the message of like, women, trust your intuition, because in this case they're like, women, your intuition might get you almost killed.
I think if it was a better movie, it would be more ambiguous about what it's trying to do, and it would be getting at, she has a reason to be afraid, but he also has a reason to be upset, and it drives them both to extremes that otherwise they wouldn't go to. But I feel like the movie, using that Margaret Atwood quote at the beginning, it so stacks the movie. It so telegraphs how you're supposed to feel about it in a way that I think hurts it.
And there's a lot of like symbolism throughout, like sprinkled throughout very liberally on talking about those themes. But I mean, I guess my final judgment is going to fit with the three of you, which is like, it doesn't quite fit our categories. I would say like somewhere between bad and a movie I kind of liked. But with that in mind, you mentioned that it doesn't fit the categories. What would be better categories for the Flophouse podcast?
Oh, wow.
Well, I mean, look, the categories, let's be honest, are a simple way to communicate with our audience. Like Siskel and Ebert, both, neither one of them liked the idea of reducing.
Didn't even have thumbs.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't even have the, like.
They used their penises, but they kind of arranged their hand around it so it looked like it was a thumb.
Okay.
They didn't like reducing everything to a thumbs up or a thumbs down, but they knew that for branding, for the good of the show, it was an important thing to do. We're not even going that far because we will abandon our categories at the first sign of danger. But I don't know. I don't know that there's there are categories out there in the world that will encompass all art that we will encounter.
Well, I'm gonna propose.
What about good, bad, or okay?
I mean, that would encompass all of it. I think
cover
I'm going
it.
to propose categories that are more specific for this kind of movie, which is successful at what it's trying to do, unsuccessful at what it's trying to do, or what it's trying to do is bad. So, like, some movies are successful at what they're trying to do, and what they're trying to do is bad. Like that Sound of Freedom? Sound of Freedom, was that it? Where the guy, it was where they were like, this guy is a hero. We're going to ignore that he might also be a child trafficker and stuff like that. That's apparently successful is trying to do, but it's trying to do is bad. There's a movie like Cat Person, which I think is unsuccessful at what it's trying to do, even though I think what it's trying to do is quality. Mm-hmm. And then there's movies that they're successful at what they're trying to do, and it's a quality thing or a not quality thing, but it's still fun. Like like Jurassic Park is successful at what it's trying to do, and Pulp Fiction are successful at what it's trying to do. It's right. And those are two different kinds of movies. And On Golden Pond is successful at what it's trying to do, and that's a different kind of movie. So I think those are categories I don't think we should necessarily use, but I'm going to pitch them as substitutes for when we're dealing with a movie that doesn't fall into good, bad, or good, bad categories.
I would agree that those are good ways to evaluate movies in general. But, for our podcast, which, has slowly drifted closer to actual film critique over the years, but in a lot of ways is searching for that high of the dumb, bad movie that is fun to watch. Yeah. Like, we need to have that category in there that indicates, like, this is not successful at what it's trying to do necessarily, but it is a delight to experience.
Well, it's like I was re-listening to or listening for the first time. I didn't hear it before to the Vanilla Ice episode that we released, the Coolest Ice episode from our live shows. And I'm like, the whole time I'm like, yeah, this movie is not successful at what it's trying to do, but is successful at doing a very different thing that I enjoyed greatly. So, and that thing is being ridiculous. So I guess you know what it means. You know what it is. We should take a page from Siskel and Ebert and just argue with each other more. I think that's what people are really here for, right?
Yeah, that's what they love.
We should instead of being friends behind the scenes, we should not like each other that much behind the scenes, but instead have a show where we argue with each other for years. Is that what we should do?
That would make me very upset. That would make me
Dan,
sad.
I've got a lot of friends. I'm looking to downsize right now. It would make it a lot easier for me.
We're on the
Just
chopping
kidding.
block.
The slight amount
JK.
of arguing that we already do is just more than my heart can take. So
Okay, then let's argue less and let's agree more. So Dan, tell me how great my categories are again.
Terrific. Amazing.
Thanks.
4 stars.
Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs up.
Oh, wow.
To put a final bow on Cat Person, we have a little mini segment here called What Stuart Would Have Said.
Okay.
These are things Stuart would have said had he been on the podcast. Sure. Okay, so there's a bit where you're talking about Into the Woods.
Truly, the victors get to rewrite history. Yeah.
You're talking about Into the Woods and you say sloths live in the woods. I would have said, hey, you guys, but in Sloth's voice.
Yeah.
There's a moment where Elliot mentions
Why don't you say it in his voice right now then?
I don't know. I feel like I'd rather people just imagine it.
I think in the moment, it's easier for Stuart to make that mistake than pre-planned.
So there's a moment where Elliot mentions seeing Hope Davis on the subway many times. And I feel like that's pretty thematically appropriate in a movie where a man kept stalking a woman and trying to set up a meet cute with her. I thought that was really cool of Elliot to say. I would ask more about these Gump toilets. What's going on there? What's Gump toilets?
It's a brand of porta potty.
Okay, it's a LA brand of porta potty.
I think it's national, but maybe it's just regional. You see them all over the place at construction sites here.
Do they ever put them outside of a Bubba Gump shrimp company so people can see the full digestion cycle?
They're like, oh, so Andy and Bubba must be brothers. Oh, interesting. No,
honey, let's take a poop in here.
It's just a conjunction of Gumps or Gump Junction. It happens once every 1,000 years.
I would also mention that I also loved the sequence where she is in the bathroom and the wallpaper has all those paintings of women's faces and she kisses them. And it actually looks like other women have kissed that same wallpaper in different places. I thought that was really cool. Mm-hmm. Speaking of kisses, Elliot mentioned that he was very good at kissing, and his wife might have joked that maybe that's why he was a member of the band Kiss or something. I don't remember the exact situation. And I was like, is that how the band Kiss got their name? Do you guys think they got their name because they were good at kissing?
They certainly thought they were good at kissing. They said they were made for loving you. But
now,
on the corollary to that is that you were made for loving them. So perhaps they're only good at kissing each other and not outside people who are not created for loving each other.
I'm guessing that there's too much.
That's one for the rabbis to answer, I suppose.
I'm guessing there's too much tongue, just based on square footage of tongue in Kiss.
And weirdly enough, not enough face paint. And then finally, there was a moment where Elliot says the heart is the largest erogenous zone. And I would say, of course, what about my weenus? So that wraps up Cat Person.
I'm glad you didn't let that opportunity pass by without taking advantage of it. Yeah.
Now, before we wrap things up here at the Peach Pit, we have Hallie Hagelin, star of the show, on here. I think it's important that we do a little special Hallie segment and we look at all the movies that all the episodes Hallie has been in. What I would like you to tell, I'm going to go down the list, Hallie, and I want you to tell me which one is the best movie, which is the worst movie, according to your recollection, because some of these I have no memory of. And then which one you think might be the best episode. If somebody was like, I want to hear more Hallie Hagelin.
And tell me which one you have no memory of, because I'm betting
that's
many
probably
of them.
most of them.
Okay, so I'm going to start at the beginning.
Okay.
Zookeeper, Rock of Ages, Upside Down, Battle of the Year, Temptation, Confessions of a Marriage Counselor, The Quiet Ones, That Awkward Moment, Left Behind, Ouija, The Choice, The Lazarus Effect, 50 Shades Darker, The Dark Tower, The Wicker Man, Last Christmas, Me, You, Madness, The Turning, Orphan, First Kill, Your Place or Mine, Mafia Mama, and now Cat Person.
Okay, so I would say the worst movies were Upside Down and The Lazarus Effect.
Okay.
I would say the best movies were That Awkward Moment,
Okay.
Last Christmas,
Uh-huh.
and maybe just I don't. Those two. I think, I really don't remember that well. But I would say in my head that I just feel in my soul that Zookeeper episode was a good Hallie episode.
Okay.
That or Ouija, I would say.
Well, yeah, if you didn't call it out, I wanted to say Audrey's a big fan of Hallie episodes, and Ouija is one that she cites as a good episode.
Okay.
I was really pulling for Mafia Mama to be listed in one of the best movies.
No,
but,
I did.
Okay.
I was going to say that one. Yes, I would say that.
I was going to say Mafia Mama. I was going to prod you with that at the end, but I was like, I don't want to mansplain to Hallie about what movies she likes.
I actually did forget that. Yes, Mafia Mama would be among my favorite movies. Yeah.
There's definitely
and then
a couple
all the rest I don't remember.
Yeah. There's a couple of stinkers in here.
There's a couple of stinkers. Although Miyu Madness is an artifact worth experience. That's the one that
I remember that one. That's
the wife of the Secretary of the Treasury.
Exactly. But you know what one I didn't remember, but that I feel like I was like, oh, that sounds like something I'd like, was what was the
Temptation Confessions of a Marriage Counselor?
Exactly. Yes. What was that?
I wasn't on that episode.
That was one of the Tyler Perry movies, I think.
Oh, yeah. Kim Kardashian was in that.
What's the one with
the secretary?
What's the one with Beyonce and Idris Elba that has
I was on this episode.
Obsessed. Yeah, I don't think I was in Temptations of a marriage counselor's
What's it called?
Temptation: Confessions of a Marriage Counselor.
Yeah, I remember that one.
I don't think I was on that one.
Because, that's the first time I saw Kim Kardashian in a movie.
Hallie, you've been on a lot of episodes, and you've enriched all of them.
Oh, thank you.
You've truly earned your starring role.
It's been an honor, guys. And then to be on the Peach Pit. Come on.
And to be on the Peach Pit. Oh, man. I'm so happy to have you. And obviously, also, thank you so much to my other guests, Dan McCoy and Elliot Kalin. So
it's always great to be on the Peach Pit. I love every time. It's rare that you get to be on a fan podcast that is hosted by one of the people involved in the original show, unless it's The Office, I guess, in which case they do that. Or Scrubs.
Or now they have one for the
Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who are the hosts of that podcast?
Susie Essman and Jeff Garlin are doing it.
Okay. That sounds fun. I mean, obviously, I'm not only a fan of the show, I'm one of the owners
of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
No, of the Flophouse.
Oh, well, the Flophouse. Yeah, right, in the Peach Pit. Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Now, since you guys were so nice to come on my show, do you have any plugs? Do you have anything you'd like to plug?
Well, I'd like to plug the Max Fun Drive.
Okay, insert that here.
Yeah. Before we go, just one more word about the Max Fun Drive. If you've never been a Max Fun member, try it out at just $5 a month. Enjoy the bonus content. If you're already a member and you'd like to support even just a little more, we'd certainly appreciate you upgrading your membership or boosting it by a few dollars per month or so. Just going to remind some of the thank you gifts that you can only get for the 2 weeks of Max Fun Drive. There's our cool enamel collectible pen for the Flophouse, in which Werner Herzog is saying his famous catchphrase, "I'm a bad little boy," according to us.
Heard on the set of Fitzcarraldo many times.
Mm-hmm.
We'll put it up on our social media accounts so you can see it, or you can go to MaximumFun.org to join or upgrade your membership. You can get a picture of it there as well. Other levels have great gifts, like there's a chess set, or because it's a pledge drive, there's a tote bag in there. That's my pitch, but I want to close with this. I know that not everyone who enjoys the show can afford to give $5 a month. We totally get that. If you're one of those people, we appreciate you listening. And if you have the energy, We'd love it if you could help in other ways, like spreading the word about our show to new listeners. But if you love this show and you can give $5 a month, becoming a member will not only help us here at the Flophouse, it'll help those folks who enjoy the show but can't support it right now. So if you join or upgrade, you're also helping a fellow listener. A lot of things in the world are shitty right now. So why not put your money towards something that hopefully brings joy to yourself and others without all the usual lousy crap that goes along with, I don't know, the stuff you can get in this world.
Always be ending positively. Classic salesmanship from Dan McCoy.
Mm-hmm. Shows like us can exist still under this model, even if major advertisers don't see a profit in us, but only because people like you support it. We can continue to make the show the way we want to make it for you to enjoy, and in return, we hope that you will support the art and entertainment that you enjoy, because if you don't, who will? So, one last time, if you can, please go to MaximumFun.org/join to support this and other shows that you love, and I'll sign off by saying thank you. We really appreciate the kind, giving, and supportive audience, that's you guys, that allow us to do this show. Hallie?
I'd like to. No. Check out my Substack.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you said that like it's a joke, but that's a really good newsletter.
Yeah. Check out my newsletter. That hurts my feelings.
Yeah.
That's great.
Hit live on Substack.
I read it immediately upon publication.
I would also like to give a special shout out to all the Flophouse fans who came out for the impromptu meetup I did out in Melbourne. It was a ton of fun, and it was really nice to get to catch up with some folks while I was there. And also thanks again to everybody who DM'd me recommendations of restaurants and bars to hit in the various towns I went to. I ate and drank like a maniac. So many oat flat whites, so many mezcal Negronis. It's coming out my pores.
And I'd like to take a moment to say no thank you to all the Flophouse fans in Millburn, my hometown, where I was recently, and no one came out to see me. Maybe because I didn't tell anyone I was going to be there.
Yeah. Elliot doesn't have the same, unceasing desire for adulation of fans. So this Peach Bit is, of course, a Flophouse podcast property. The Flophouse is part of the Max Fun Podcast Network. Thank you so much for listening. There's a ton of other great podcasts. It's part of the Max Fun Drive right now, so you should definitely check out these shows and support us. Our show is produced by Alex Smith. He makes this sound great every week. Check it out. He loves the Peach Bit. So I've been Stuart Wellington. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows.
Supported
directly
by you.